And welcome back, all my fellow Catholics and everybody else who will soon become Catholic, whether you realize it or not. It is the Catholic Convert Show, and it is Thursday, May 9th. Welcome to the show. Ed, how you doing, brother?
I am doing great as always. I'm always doing great. You know that. I woke up today. Uh, I'm blessed. Did my prayers. I'm raring to go. It's a good day. It's always a good day.
I'm starting to get annoyed with how happy you are all the time. You don't have like a regular day. I mean, is it the Prozac? What is it?
It is the love of our Lord. That's what it is. Keeps me going. Keeps me up all the time. I'm serious. People like
Look at that.
no, but people will say that they come to my Bible studies and stuff just because they're like, well, this guy is really serious. We can tell that he's on fire for the Lord. He's excited about what he's doing. He's excited about what he's sharing. He believes in what he's sharing. And that's why they sign up for my stuff. So I figure that's a good endorsement.
So you're saying it's the Prozac. Got it.
Well, yeah, but you
Oh, this is a terrible show. I don't know why anybody tunes in. Maybe one day we'll get our act together and we'll be able to afford a producer who keeps us on track. Who knows? Oh, no. I guess we'll kick into it. I was looking at some of the Catholic news of the day, and we've got great news coming out of New York. Apparently, a New York Supreme Court judge has blocked the referendum to enshrine abortion in the New York State Constitution. Now, the state's going to appeal that, but that means that the referendum to enshrine the right to abortion in the state's constitution cannot appear on the ballot in November. And the reason they're stating it happened is because the state, and I don't know the process, but the state apparently doesn't know the process either because they didn't follow the proper process. And so this November, it can't go on there. Nice little quick victory. Hopefully, they lose the appeal as well, because in addition to all of that, everybody is lamenting this time of year, including myself. And I do it every 4 years. I lament election season just because it's a never ending bombardment of these cringy advertisements with old dudes, holding shovels next to a tractor they don't even know how to turn on, trying to say they're one of the people.
yeah.
But the Biden Harris administration has just ramped it all the way up and gone all in on what they're calling a reproductive freedoms tour. And they're touting unrestricted abortion. And this is mainly coming from Vice President Harris. Uh, and they're calling, ironically, anti abortion laws immoral. They're saying it's immoral that we are we're somehow against killing children. What kind of monsters out there oppose the killing of children? We're immoral. Give me a break. But no, that's the that's the premise of the reproductive freedom tour that they're going on. But what they're calling it is an equal rights amendment, and it's avoiding the use of the word abortion, right? But what it's trying to do is create a constitutional protection for women to access abortion. Get this, through all 9 months of pregnancy. That means a woman at 39 weeks, 6 days can say, you know what? I don't want it, and abort her child, which is absolutely ludicrous. Okay. at this rate, they're going to be, you know, looking forward to getting it on the ballot for post-birth abortions. It's been 3 days since my kid was born, and I've changed my mind. Um, Let me just take this to the doctor. It's progressing their blatant disrespect for human life and human dignity at an alarming rate, and it's about everything I can do to not get involved in politics. But I know I would never get elected simply because they uh, I am not the person that knows how to cull his words. It is very difficult to cull my words, even on this show. So, yeah. But
Yeah.
I can't even imagine someone thinking that is immoral to not kill children. It just
But
blows my mind, man.
yeah, but I mean that's the kind of language they use, that it's more, you're on the moral side of things if you support abortion. Uh, if you are for preserving all human life at every stage of life, you're an extremist. So you and I are extremists, obviously. They don't call it. They never say, like, when they tweet about it, they don't say we have to preserve abortion rights. They say we have to preserve reproductive freedom, which is such a nonsensical term because you you're actually trying to kill the fruits of that reproduction. So how it's, I mean, everyone's free to reproduce. I don't know of any laws that prevent that. So to say reproductive freedom is ridiculous. But it works. It works. If you talk to younger folks, you talk to college age kids, they really believe this nonsense that it's not a human until it comes out of the womb. Um, it's a what did he say? Oh, it's a clump of cells. All this other nonsense, these ridiculous, but I'll tell you what, man, they're good at it. They're good at convincing people of untruths. And that's amazing to me that it's 2024, and everyone can flip open their computer, their laptop, their cell phone, and they can do a quick Google, and they can learn all there is to know about human biology and about the whole process of producing a baby. But they'd rather get their info off of YouTube or Twitter in these little 2 or 3 second blurbs. You've got Taylor Swift, who's one of the, I don't get it. I mean, I guess I'm way too old for that to understand her
I don't get it either.
music stuff. But I mean, but she famously said what, 6, 9 months ago, that if you don't support abortion, you're not Christian. Um, I used to think they would throw out these phrases just to see if anyone's paying attention, but now I think they actually believe this nonsense. That abortion is moral, that if you're a Christian, you have to support abortion. Um, I was watching a video a few months back, it was during the winter sometime, of a female pastor. I don't know what sort of little non-denominational church, whatever she was at, but she's wearing what I would term priestly garb, and her stole was pink, and instead of crosses for the seven sacraments, it had the Planned Parenthood logo going down it, and she's giving her sermon on how Christians have to support abortion. So the folks that support abortion, God love them for one thing. They are great at marketing. If they can sell you that, they can sell you pretty much anything.
Yeah, I don't even know where to go with that. I know there's a lot of things that um, I could say, but one, it would go against the very principle of Christian charity, and two, it would probably get us kicked off of every podcasting platform, including YouTube. I would have to move us over to Rumble, which I'm working on getting our show over there too. But the interface is weird. I've never messed with it. So maybe we'll do an exclusive episode over there
There you go.
that's
No,
just
no
for
holds
Rumble
barred.
audiences. Just for
Yeah,
Rumble audiences.
yeah.
But no, they the easiest way to get people to believe a lie is to repeat it over and over and over again. I mean, that's marketing 101. I mean, I've written sales pages that have generated hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars for clients. And one of the key things, it's almost like a hypnotic process, right? You're embedding these ideas into the human psyche, into their insecurities, into their instinct to flee from pain and their instinct to run towards pain relief or pleasure, right? And that's all this has become. You've got these top level marketers and copywriters who are just banging the drum with repetition until people start to say, okay, I get it. Yeah, I believe it now because they're repeating it to themselves over and over and over again. And I do think that that is somewhere people on the pro life side tend to fail, right? They tend to fail in that because it's an emotionally charged issue, right? People that have
Mm,
lost children, like my wife and I, we lost two kids. Um, People that can't conceive, people that have been the victim of abortion, as far as whether it be a father whose wife, girlfriend, whatever, aborted his child, or a woman who went and had a abortion willingly and then later regretted it, right? And she's
mm,
had to cope and deal with the trauma and healing from all of that. And so when people start talking about uh, on the pro life side, it tends to become emotionally charged. Now, of course, it becomes emotionally charged from the people on the pro choice side, but let's just it, go ahead and clarify pro choice doesn't mean you can if you want to. Pro choice is really the choosing to kill a child. That's their choice, right? But it becomes an emotionally charged conversation and it tends to go off the rails and it goes on these tangents and you don't see the focused approach that you're seeing from the pro-choice crowd when it comes to persuasion and ultimately hypnosis, right? That's what marketing is. Marketing is
mm.
hypnosis,
True, true.
and you don't see that from the right. And another thing with the people on the right is they're spending way too much time talking about all of the things they are against in sort of a countercultural reactive way, but they're not focusing on saying anything that they are for. And
Mm,
so they have became over the last several years a very reactionary party. Everything that they do is in reaction to what the other guy, the bad guy is doing, right? And so they failed to understand so far that you cannot be countercultural if you do not have a culture to counter to.
mm,
If you're countering from one culture, a culture of depravity and sin and moral ambivalence, and you spend all of your time saying, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, they're doing a very poor job of saying and showing this is what's right. And that's why I think we're seeing such a huge uptick in people kind of shifting into relativism when it comes to things like abortion. Like, if you don't want one, don't have one. It's not good enough that way, though. You can't do it that way. You have to show what you're for much more than you're complaining or campaigning about what you're against. But I
Yeah.
think people on the pro life side have failed to do that, not really of their own fault, but it has become an emotionally charged issue when they bring it up. And it's abortion bad, abortion bad, abortion bad, and not promoting being a father, being a mother good as much as they should.
Yeah. That's a really good point, actually, because people don't want to hear what they can't do. They want to know what they can do. And you're right. So when the folks on the left or whatever they say, yeah, you can go get an abortion, you can do this, you can do that. That sounds great. You're thinking that's the party that I want to vote for because that's the party that really supports my freedoms. But of course, it's kind of a perversion of the word freedom in that case. But you're right. And then on the more conservative side, it's you can't do this and you can't do that. But that's on the big ticket items. So what happens is on the small stuff, the roles are reversed. And and people don't realize that the guys on the left are actually far more restrictive. If you look at any of the issues that actually do um, kind of come across our desk on a daily basis, like there's a big thing in a lot of the major cities on the East Coast here, where and New York famously did this. They'll restrict because they're so worried about our health. Not worried about killing babies or anything like that, but they're so worried about their health. They'll do things like they'll restrict the size of soft drinks that can be sold at convenience stores because people are having far too many sugary soft drinks. And I'm thinking, man, if they're going to get right into like what I'm drinking on a daily basis, I'm not drinking cyanide. I'm drinking water and syrup and sugar, and they're going to try to control that. Then those are the people that are invasive. Those are the people that are trying to control how I live my life. In New York, the mayor was trying to restrict how much red meat you could eat on a daily basis or a weekly basis, whatever. I mean, this was his idea because he found that since he's become a vegan, he's much more healthy. So he wants all of us to be healthier. And the way to do that would be to restrict our intake of red meat. Um, but so they want to control these little subtle, nuanced items in your life, but then say on the big stuff, just do whatever you want, whatever floats your boat, And so I think it's true that we don't realize. I mean, if you look, oh my gosh, I live in New Jersey. If you want to lose your eyesight, try to read the small print on gun ownership here in the state. You know, it's amazing, and they try to add to the restrictions every single day. Um, they try to restrict the speech of people who have a conservative point of view. It's crazy. They control the day-to-day stuff that actually affects you, but then on the big stuff that would occasionally come to play, they're like, do whatever you want and try to sell it as they're selling freedom.
Yeah, completely agree. If I think they try to play both sides, and this is for both sides, between libertarianism. They can't be so far one way or so far the other. They have to kind of dance the line around libertarianism. But libertarianism is the middle of the road, and the only place, uh, or the only thing that belongs in the middle of the road is roadkill. You get ran over and you get beaten down with every single thing because you couldn't pick a side. And whether people want to admit it or not, the side to choose is the one that says that morality is not relative to circumstances, right? I get it. You can forgive a theft if someone was stealing food to feed their family, right? I've been homeless. I know what that's like. But at the same time, I'm still committing an immoral act. Is it something that is normally outside of my operating, you know, modality? Yeah, of course. I don't normally steal stuff, right? And so I get where they try to use that something like that as an example of, well, there should be moral exceptions to killing a child. No, 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 no. There's not. I mean, there's no, there's nothing that says, well, this kid doesn't deserve to live
Mm,
simply because I'm poor or I've got enough kids already, or I would rather go out and continue partying. None of that is even remotely acceptable to say,
yeah,
let's kill a kid.
yeah.
But what's funny is though is that while we're having all this here, and here in America, we like to talk about all the things that make us better than Europe, right? Because almost everything makes us better than Europe. Let me just say that. But the European listeners are not going to like that one, but yeah,
The tens of millions of them.
they'll be fine. But I have noticed that Ireland is making waves on this topic right here. I mean,
Mm,
just the other day they had a pro life rally. It was like thousands of them in central Dublin. Well, they went from central Dublin all the way to Irish Parliament. There was thousands of pro life activists that participated in the Ireland March for Life, and that was 3 days ago. It was on Monday, right? And what was his name? Archbishop Eamon Martin of Armagh, and he's the head of the Irish Episcopal Conference out there. He participated in the march along with several other Catholic leaders. And he said the event was positive, uplifting, and it was a very stark contrast to the just the negative messages of aggression and violence and death threats that most of them are getting. You know, and we're kind of seeing the same thing happen over in Scotland. They finally ousted I don't even know his name, but the not so Scottish former prime minister that uh, just resigned. You know, and the same thing, like I said, in Ireland, it's people are standing up hard, and they're finally tired of being told we're going to progress, putting that in quotes, for the simple sake of progress. And believe me, I've read enough history to know that the Northern Catholic Irish and the non-Catholic Irish down further south don't always have the greatest of relationships, right? But the Irish Catholics there and the rest of the pro-life Irish are not backing down. They're not cowering in fear simply because they have an overreaching government that's going to accuse them of hate speech for praying outside of an abortion clinic. You know, we all know the story of the woman who was arrested in London because she was standing there silently praying in her own head, praying in front of an abortion clinic, and that was deemed hate speech. Well, fortunately, and I this will probably get all of the FBI's anti-Catholic squad interested. They cannot arrest everyone, and that goes for us here too, right? And this is not me calling for people to go out of their way and attend these protests and these rallies and you know fight physically against people that are pro-choice and the counter protest. I don't want to see anyone on either side get hurt. But the moment you start being afraid of being blacklisted is the moment you need to double down on your stance, right? I'm looking forward to the future conversion of every FBI agent they tried to stick into my radical Catholic church, right? We'll soon have them chanting Gregorian as well, right? I'm looking forward to that. But Christ came to bring a sword, not peace, right?
yeah.
And that sword is what's going to slice through the wheat and separate it from the chaff. We are going to struggle. We're going to piss people off. We're going to upset people. And people are going to want the absolute worst things on earth to happen to us. When on the other side, We just want you to stop killing kids. It's not too much to ask.
Yeah. You mentioned the FBI, and there's been that discussion in the news the last 6 months or so about like the weaponization of the FBI, the Department of Justice, things like that. But I think I think it is real, and I think it's done purposely because if you know, it's kind of this weird thing where they use those departments to put fear into you. So you're not going to go to rallies, you're not going to go to marches, you're not going to pray out in front of an abortion clinic. And then later on, after everyone gets used to not doing those things anymore, they can say, well, see, everyone supports our way of thinking because nobody's protesting against it, nobody's doing anything about it. And I think about this gentleman who lives outside of Philadelphia. I've seen him speak a couple of times. I had breakfast with him last February, and his first name is Mark, and I don't know why his last name is escaping me, but he was praying out in front of an abortion clinic in Philadelphia, and his 12-year-old son was with him this particular day, and an old man came up who was pro-abortion and was screaming and cursing at his son and getting in his face and just saying some really nasty things about him and about his father and about how his father was doing such a horrible job of raising him because he was raising him pro-life. And the man shoved this 12-year-old kid. Well, Mark, being a good father, jumped between him and held the guy back. When the police came, they arrested Mark, who was just simply defending his son. Well, the Department of Justice eventually decided they were going to bring charges against him. He has, I forget how many. He's got 4 or 5, 6 kids. He's got a number of kids. So FBI and local authorities and sheriff's officers raided his house at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning one Saturday or Sunday morning. Busted into the house, scared the bejesus out of everybody there. Him, his wife, his children. The kids are all crying. These guys in all their tactical outfits and the huge guns to arrest the guy because he was praying out in front of an abortion clinic. And thankfully, there was a trial and he was acquitted. But I mean, but see, this is the thing. I mean, when your own government is trying to scare you away from protecting the sanctity of life, that's frightening. That's something I never expected to see in my country, and we're seeing it. You know, there are a number of you can look. There was the Franciscan who spent several months in jail because he was praying at an abortion clinic. There was there's a couple of older women in their 70s who have trial dates coming up where they are being threatened with 11 years imprisonment for partaking in prayers out in front of an abortion clinic. So um, these are dark times, man. This is crazy. This is really unacceptable for a what I would consider. I don't care what other people say. I'm sorry. This is a Christian country. You say what you want. I'm familiar with the writings of the founding fathers. It's a Christian country.
Yeah, John Adams said that our Constitution was made for a religiously moral people, and it does not work without them. People who wanted to say, John Adams never said that, read his letter to the Massachusetts militia. One of the
Exactly.
first things in the letter. Okay?
Yeah.
So, didn't think I knew that, did you? I'm more than just a pretty face. But no, yeah, I mean, you guys will just have to excuse me. I am a dumb hillbilly from the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains
Oh boy.
who barely graduated high school and dropped out of college. Yet somehow I figured it out. But that's why I'm doing this because I'm not trained or good at anything else.
I'm right there
But
with
no,
you.
but no. In terms of that, we had something not to that extreme happen at because look, there's only 3 abortion clinics in South Carolina.
Mm.
If things go well, it'll be down to 2. So while there's nothing that we can do about changing the abortion laws, at least quickly, right? We've been
Mm,
so lucky as of late to get the laws changed here and the Protection of Life bill going through with McMaster. And yeah, people are complaining about it, but they can complain while being wrong. That's their freedom. But there is an abortion clinic probably 45 to 35 minutes from my house. And it has become this point of constant contention
mm,
between all of the people who are pro life standing outside the gate and people who are pro choice standing outside the gate in a never ending, almost 24-hour a day protest. It's not ending. But, and I guess I could say, fortunately, it's caused quite a few confrontations, quite a few arrests between each side arguing with each other or getting into scuffles. No one's been seriously hurt, of course, thank God, but
mm,
it's become what the city has called a nuisance. But they also acknowledge that they cannot infringe on the First Amendment, the right to assemble, the right to protest. And if, hey, the other side started it and came over and started arguing because they didn't like what we were saying. And so the sheriff's department and the PD always have to be out there keeping the peace and stopping it. And it's a huge drain on resources.
mhm.
So that said, a member of the city council where this um, clinic is located has put forth a motion to strip the abortion clinic of its business license
Wow.
because it's causing a nuisance in the city and draining the city and the county resources because it's a point of contention. Now,
Mm,
whether or not that's an awesome loophole to get through, or it's something that's going to fall flat, we don't know. They put that forth in December of last year, and the last I heard about it was in December, but that's because it hasn't come up for the election and as far as city ordinances and things like that go.
mm,
But hopefully that will pan out, and then we can possibly continue that strategy at the other two and make South Carolina a completely abortion clinic free state, and then start expanding from there. I know the governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, this is his last possible term, and his
mm.
competition is very pro life, or sorry, not competition, but one of the candidates going to run for governor very pro life, and he's got a very big chance.
Oh,
So
cool.
hopefully we can get it all out of the Carolinas and continue to spread. But I see people being threatened by the cops, by the federal government. You know, if you stand for this, you're a radical, and we're going to put you on a list. Well, I hate to break this to you, and this goes for any of the law enforcement or the federal agencies listening to this. The German government already has my name on a list, as well as most of my friends on a list of potential extremists. Okay. So you can just talk to them and get my name off their list. I wish that was not a true story, but it is.
I don't know. I mean, I've got your name on my list.
Hey, that's a totally different list, and it's not rated PG-13.
Uh, yeah. The only thing I would say about all that is that it would be great if we could start closing some of these clinics not through loopholes, because when they do that, then it opens it up to all sorts of lawsuits and judges looking at this as an appeal of that was an appropriate reason to close the facility and things. I'm hopeful for the day that we get to closing abortion clinics, simply because it's really not a good idea for us to be killing our own children. That would be super. um same thing with, like, euthanasia is really taking off in a few states in this country, and it's going roughshod in Canada. Um, I don't have the number in front of me, but I remember being blown away reading an article a few months ago where, like, it's something like 14% of deaths in Canada are now due to euthanasia. That's
Yeah, it's gotten
Crazy.
insane. I saw
Right?
an article not long ago about how the Canadian government or health system, which is very ironic, is offering euthanasia for people who are just tired of being poor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you want better jobs? You want to be able to afford food? Have you thought about death? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's disgusting in every sense of the word. But
There was
I
an
mean,
article.
what are you going to do? I mean, at least,
Yeah.
and I agree with you 100% on the loophole thing. It'd be great if we didn't have to, you know, pursue that angle. But I will take victories where I can get them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then you can worry about fighting it in court later. But in the meantime, you've saved how many babies. So there is something to be said for that.
And the counter argument that most people want to have is, well, what about all of the other healthcare things that these women can get that is not abortion at these clinics? Keep
Which is not.
those. Keep those. That's not on the table. Keep those.
Yeah.
You know, we have a women's maternity home here that is privately funded. It offers every single thing that the abortion clinic offers, except for abortion and more. And I'm talking women can go there to find housing, financial support, free baby items, free baby clothes, formula, diapers, all of it, counseling, and you know, after post pregnancy, pre birth support, the exams, all of it. It's a privately funded clinic that doesn't cost women a single dime, and they can get every single aspect of healthcare that they would ever possibly need. And again, including financial support, housing vouchers if they don't have a place to go, if it's a young girl who's father kicked her out or mother kicked her out because she ended up with child, or she had to escape an abusive relationship. You come there, they put you somewhere where you're safe, where you do not have to abort your child just to survive. So they can miss me with the well, it's taking other resources away from women. They can keep those. We want to continue keeping those, and we want to be able to provide more of that for everyone. Just take abortion off the table. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And those, unfortunately, there have been a number of states who have tried desperately to shut down those pregnancy centers, saying that they are lying to women, that they're not providing all the services that they should. I've toured a few of them in the area here. It's remarkable what they do. And um, there was one I toured, and this was crazy to me. There was one that was across the street. They purposely put themselves near Planned Parenthoods so that maybe their signage out front will attract women to come across the street instead of walking into the Planned Parenthood. But there was one because Planned Parenthood doesn't offer a lot of services outside of abortion. Like try to get a mammogram at a Planned Parenthood. A lot of women are under the impression that you can get a mammogram at it. No, you can get a referral for a mammogram at a Planned Parenthood. That's it. But another thing that a lot of them don't do is ultrasound. Now, obviously, they don't want an ultrasound machine anywhere near a pregnant woman because she might see her child and say, I can't kill that thing. But at this one clinic that I have, or a pregnancy center that I have visited to try to and done some volunteer work with, the Planned Parenthood, when people go in there and say, yeah, I'm going to get an abortion, I just want to have an ultrasound first, or whatever, they will actually send them across the street to the pregnancy center because the pregnancy center will do it for free. And then they're hopeful that the person, even after the ultrasound, will come back. The other thing about that is that you're mentioning how they will take care of other things, other expenses and things like that. This one pregnancy center that I've been to a number of times, they have this area set up like it looks like you're walking into the finest baby store you've ever been in with all the clothes and the diapers and the accessories and things. And to make the woman feel like you're doing something wonderful. You're doing something beautiful by keeping your child, and we want you to be happy about it. So these women go in, they get a little shopping cart, and they go through up and down the aisles. They pick up everything they want. They go up to what looks like a register area, but the only thing that happens there is all their things are put into a bag, and then they're sent on their way with no charge. I think that's wonderful. You're making it a joyful experience for these women to keep their child, which is great. And so, yeah, I think that we need to let people know that there are alternatives. There are very, very good alternatives. But the folks on the left don't want to know that. They have these advertisements that say, "Oh, these pregnancy centers are horrible. They're terrible. They're lying to you. They're gonna. They want you to have your baby born, but then they'll disappear." No, I've been to these centers where they will help you with your housing costs and your food costs and your heating and electric costs well into your kids being 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. So uh, it just I don't know why they're so desperate to kill children that they'll actually lie about it. That blows my mind. But yeah, it's something I definitely would like to see end in my time, as much as I have left here.
I mean, you've been around since the 5th century. I don't think you're going anywhere anytime soon.
Probably true.
You were with Saint Helena when you guys brought back the True Cross and the Solus Populi Romani.
Well,
You carried
I
bags.
I was actually I stopped for a sandwich, and I wasn't there for the actual discovery of the cross, but I was there shortly after.
Oh, but look, you know, it all this reminds me of, and people are going to be like, well, how do we actually get rid of this? How do we stop it? Well, you know what? There's nothing that's ever going to be accomplished without continuous a raising of awareness of these kinds of facilities, continuous charity from the people who don't want abortion to be legal anymore, to help fund, help expand, and help create more organizations like the ones in the pregnancy centers and like the St. Clair's Home for Mothers that we're talking about, right? But more than that, prayer. I'm reminded of Father Larry Richards, and I know we've mentioned him a couple of times. You're a big fan. I'm a big fan. I remember the story that he told at one of I think it was one of those videos on was by the Rome Boys, right?
Yeah,
He was talking about how he wanted to start perpetual adoration at his parish. So he went to the deacon and, or sorry, not to the deacon. He went to the bishop and he's like, uh, Bishop, I want to start perpetual adoration at my chapel. The bishop goes, or at my parish. He goes, no. He goes, okay. He goes, so I went back to my parish and I went ahead and started working on setting up the perpetual adoration chapel. And so that while it was being worked on, it was being built and all this other, went back and told the bishop again, hey, really want to start perpetual adoration chapel. And the bishop was like, I said no, we're not going to do that at your chapel, or at your parish. He goes, okay. So he went back to his parish. He prayed for the intercession from Saint Joseph, and he went back to the bishop, and he said, Bishop, can I get your approval now for the perpetual adoration chapel? And the bishop's like, I told you no. He goes, yeah, but Saint Joseph said yes, so we've already done it. We would like you there for the opening. It'll be opening in a couple of weeks. And so they went, right?
yeah.
And the bishops there, the news was there, and the news was asking Father Richards, why did you want this perpetual adoration chapel here? He said, for the holiness of my people and to close the damn abortion clinics.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, and so front page after he had already said that exact same thing to the bishop. And the bishop said, no, no, you can't say that. So he said it to the, so Father Richards said it to the reporters. They put it in the paper. Father Richards planning on closing the abortion clinics. And it took about 2 years because there was an abortion clinic right down the street from his parish. 2 years, the abortion clinic closed. They went about 6 months, 7 months, and the abortion clinic reopened. And they're like, well, it's back. But when it first closed, they were like, oh, Father Richards, you closed the abortion clinic like you said you would. He's like, nah. Prayer did that. God did that. Well, it's open again. What are you going to do? He goes, close it again. A few months later, it closed again, and it has not opened up in almost a decade. It's been a decade since there's been an abortion clinic in his county. Prayer and time spent by his people, his parish, his flock in adoration, praying to end abortion, got rid of that abortion, right?
Yeah.
So I don't care if you have to do it every single day, and you should be saying a daily rosary. The very least you can do is offer up a decade every single day to end the murder of innocent children by abortion, right? If it works in Pennsylvania, in Erie, Pennsylvania, just down the street from St. Joseph's, it'll work wherever you are. And it's frustrating, right? I get it. You're like, oh, I feel like it's not getting anything. It'll happen on a schedule that is not yours to make, but it's going to happen. We're already seeing what I'm starting to call this counter reformation to the Reformation, right? We had the reforms of Vatican II. Well, just like kids rebelling, right? People wanted to modernize the church. Well, it slid too far. Now we're having a counter reformation to the reforms of Vatican II, where we're seeing this huge push back into a more traditional Catholic church, right? And if you still want to attend Novus Ordo Mass, do it. I attend Novus Ordo, right? But it's a very reverent Novus Ordo. But you're seeing the need and the thirst for that starting to come back. And it's only taken what, 50 years, 60 years, but we're getting there, right? So you can't lose hope. If it's still bad, God's not done, right? We will get there. We will end abortion. It's a matter of time, but we still have to dedicate ourselves in prayer to get that to happen.
Yeah, prayer is a powerful weapon. We rely way too much on politics and politicians and laws being passed, and all that stuff is great, but none of it happens without prayer, you know? So, that's how
We'll
many
make it
folks, how
happen.
many priests, how many saints, how many we will, yeah, how many folks have referred to the rosary as a powerful weapon? They don't say, "Oh, look at my cute, dainty little rosary." They say, "Look at my weapon that I have here," you know? And it's true.
I love mine. I got it from Rugged Rosaries, and this is the Saint Michael's World War I replica of the battle beads. And this one back here, it's the Crusader series. That was my first ever rosary. Um, my friend Adam, godfather to my children, gave me that when I told him that I was converting. So he bought me my first rosary. So now it's always right here. Beautiful build, got the Benedictine crucifix, you know, but I cannot leave my house without my rosary in my pocket. I can't. I feel naked with it, just like I would without my wallet or, like, unfortunately, my phone or my watch. I feel naked without my rosary. I'm never more than a few feet away from it, right? Because it's
Yep.
not just a dainty little piece of chain. It,
No,
it is a powerful spiritual weapon. And
absolutely.
more people are going to realize that the more they start praying the rosary.
Yeah. This is that same type with the World War One style, but as you'll see, it's got a Byzantine crucifix on it. So there you go. And I also I'm never anywhere without a rosary because in my pocket is uh always in my pocket is one of my mom's rosaries. So it's probably
Oh, that's
100 plus
beautiful.
years old. Yeah, so mom's always with me and Mary's always with me at the
Both
same
mamas.
time.
My mamas are always with me. I like it.
Both of my mamas. My Yeah, it's the way
uh,
it's got to be, right?
yeah,
I
has to
that's
be.
I tell you, I think I mentioned that the first time we ever spoke was that my mom was, maybe on her tiptoes was 4'11", maybe 85 pounds or whatever like that. Tiniest little woman you ever saw in your
It's
life.
exactly like
But
my
I
wife.
know for a fact that but I know for a fact when my mom was holding that rosary, she scared the hell out of the devil. He went scurrying the other way. This little tiny woman scared the hell out of the devil, and God bless her for it. I can't imagine how many times she battled him so that the rest of us in the family wouldn't have to.
Love it. All right. Got about 9 minutes left in the show. So, what are we going to do? We're going to shift over to the saint of the day. We've ranted enough. You all get the point, and you're probably either very angry and wishing death upon Ed and I, which, I mean, we're used to it by
Absolutely, by
now.
now.
Or you're fired up and you're going to adoration tonight, or you're going to pray a rosary right after listening to this and do your part in getting rid of abortion. But we
Mm.
are moving on to the saint of the day, Saint John of Avila. And
Oh,
I
cool.
did not know about Saint John of Avila until today, actually. Uh, he was born in the Castile region of Spain, which is where Castilian Spanish, dialect is. John was sent
Mhm.
at the age of 14 to the University of Salamanca to study law, later moved to Alcala, where he studied philosophy, theology, and then was ordained as a diocesan priest. His parents died and left him as their sole heir to a very large fortune. And he said, okay, cool, great. And he gave the money away to the poor. Well, in
Mm.
1527, he traveled to Seville, hoping to become a missionary to Mexico. And the archbishop of that city persuaded him to stay and then spread the faith in Andalusia. And during the 9 years of work there, he developed a reputation of a very perceptive spiritual director and a wise confessor. But because he was not afraid to denounce vice in even the highest of places, right? Kind of like what you and I are doing here on this show.
Yep.
He was investigated by the Inquisition, but was cleared later in
Oh boy.
1533. Yeah, he got lucky there. He later worked in Cordoba and in Granada, at Camp Granada, Hello Mata, Hello Fada, where he organized the University of Baeza, which is the first of several colleges run by diocesan priests who dedicated themselves to teaching and giving spiritual direction to young people. Now, if there's anybody that was going to be like a name dropper, you're like, I hang out with Jean Claude or Stallone. Now, this guy was friends with Saints Francis Borgia, uh, Ignatius of Loyola, John of God, John of the Cross, Peter of Alcantara, and Teresa of Avila. That was his friend. Those were his friends, right? He definitely wins the name dropping contest. He also worked closely with members of the Society of Jesus and help them grow within Spain and all of its colonies. He was finally beatified in 1894, canonized in 1970, and declared a doctor of the church on October the 7th, 2012. And today, no, sorry, tomorrow is his liturgical feast day.
Nice.
Yeah. You talk about good
That's cool.
company, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Quite
no,
the
I didn't
circle
I
of
was not
friends.
aware. Yeah. I don't know, do I hang out with any saints or anything? I don't know. Have to look into that.
We've already decided that you and I we're lucky if we get listed in the and companions part of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, hey, listen, I would take that. I would definitely take that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I know it's a very honorary, no, not honorary, but very honored position to be a
Mhm,
companion of someone. Like if you're looking like uh, Kitsui Kibei, one of the
mm,
Japanese martyrs in the
mhm.
1400s, and companions, you're like, oh man, those yes, right? To be fortunate enough to be in companionship with a saint, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it does feel like just from the lay perspective, it feels like yeah, I knew him, I knew him, which is yeah, okay, awesome, right? But
Yeah,
no,
it's
that's about, I think that might be as close as we get to actual canonization. Now, of course, you have to be a saint or you're going to hell. But to be actually
yeah.
canonized, um, the closest we can get would be, at least as far as I know, I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but we're in the and companions. We're not even named. We're just in the and companions.
Yeah. And then also there's another thing that can sometimes happen with us is that you can actually meet somebody who's related to a saint. That's kinda cool. In fact, a number of years ago, I was at a shrine for, Saint Gianna, which is not too far from here, and her youngest son, who's just about my age, he was there speaking, and I'm thinking, "I'm talking to someone whose mother is a saint." That's pretty cool.
I mean, a lot of guys will scream out, "My mother was a saint." His actually was. So that's awesome. Uh,
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm gonna bring him
Right?
up again, and
Yeah,
yes, I'm a
that's
bit of
pretty
a
cool.
I'm a bit of a fanboy of Father Larry Richards, but his 20 odd great grandmother is Saint Elizabeth of Hungary.
That's kinda cool.
Yeah, yeah, and he didn't even realize it because his altar, the high altar in his church, comes from Cologne, Germany. It's got beautiful woodwork all the way through it, and right there on the right hand side, looking down, is his 20 odd great grandmother looking down at him. And he didn't even realize it until, again, the Catholic Church being the greatest of record keepers ever, he did the little
Mhm.
genealogy thing of all their priests. And they were like, oh, by the way, your 23rd, 22nd great grandmother is St. Elizabeth of Hungary. And he turned and he's like, well, she's on my altar and she's been looking down on me this entire time. Very cool.
How cool is that? Yeah, that's kinda neat. That's kinda neat.
Yeah, I remember him talking about it, and he was like, "So, if Saint Elizabeth hadn't have had sex, y'all wouldn't be dealing with me."
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's how he was
Uh,
saying it.
yeah, I didn't need to know that part, but,
I'm like, "Well, that's not what
yeah,
I
yeah,
think of
yeah.
when I think of saints." But it just goes to show you that, like we were talking yesterday about, we or the other day when we think that all the saints are always up and praying. Saints are everyday people, right? Their fathers,
Yeah,
their
for sure.
mothers, their sons,
Exactly.
daughters, brothers, sisters. And one of the most honored saints in the
Yeah.
entirety of the Catholic Church, Saint Elizabeth of Hungary. She had children. She had a long, fruitful life. Right? Sainthood is
Mm.
possible for everyone, and to make sainthood easier, download Holy Habits. I'm getting really good at
Good segue.
these little segues here, but Holy Habits. Download it. It's an app tracker. Help
Mhm.
you stick to living a active Catholic life. App Store, Google Play, it's free. Download it. But we are out of time. So, are there any last words? I guess
Last words,
not.
like last words of
Maybe.
wisdom or something like that? I don't know, but you were talking about
Yeah, sure,
you were talking
Ed.
about you were
Yeah.
talking about Cologne
Spit some
and,
wise words out.
well, yeah, no, but you're talking about Cologne, Germany, and yeah, my OP name is Saint John of Cologne, and we're speaking about companions. You know, he became a saint because there were this was after the Reformation, and a number of priests were being held captive by, I believe, they were Calvinists, and Saint John of Cologne used to sneak in and bring the Eucharist to them, and then eventually he was caught, and they were all hung. So that's another one of those, like, so you know Saint John of Cologne, but you don't know the other 11 priests who were martyred along with him. But we were talking about Cologne, and he's Saint John of Cologne. I don't know. It's very interesting, very fascinating.
See, I want to go to Cologne just because the cathedral is one of the most architecturally impressive things I've ever seen. Yeah. I know it took what, like 400 years to complete because they had to stop construction at some point because of the conflicts going on in the area. But there and Mont Saint Michel in France, two places I want to go. Mont Saint Michel, I want to go because my patron is
Oh yeah,
Saint
a couple good
Michael,
ones.
as well as I just learned the other night that some of my Norman ancestors in Normandy in France helped to build the church there at Mont Saint Michel, the monastery there. So now I've got a reason to go to France,
Very
which
cool.
that sounds horrifying. But I've got a reason to go to France now. But all right, we're going to wrap this one. We'll be back
That's right.
tomorrow. Hopefully, Ed will be in a better mood tomorrow. He was kind of bitter today, but we'll do what we can.
Uh, no, I'm gonna be down again.
All
That's
right.
right.
Thank you all for
All right.
watching.
Good one,
Thank
folks,
you all for listening.
and have a good one.